Oh man, all right. I'm not used to this over here.
This isn't Zoom.
Yeah, no kidding, no kidding.
What have been some of just the biggest takeaways for you through the first couple days of camp?
Oh, honestly, just getting back into it. It's like, I was talking to Joe Conley the other day, and I was telling him, I was like, there's no amount of suicides, gassers that you could run to be in football shape. It's just a completely different animal. You know, it's just fast-paced all the time. It's quick. But a lot of it's just the mental side of it, right? Especially being in camp. You know, we're here from 7 to 8, 7 to 8:30 or whatever, and it's just a mental grind. And just like, getting back in the playbook, getting into the routine, and hopefully, this year we have a full season. So just getting geared up for playing, hopefully 12 more weeks. Doing stuff in the cold tub, getting the recovery right, because we're trying to set a foundation for December right now. So
I know last year was all about technique and repetition for you guys and our coach Rod in year one. What's kind of his big focuses for you guys as a group this year?
This year, honestly, so I'll say this: Coach Rod is always going to be a technician at heart. He's always about discipline, always about technique. This year, it's honestly the depth, trying to bridge that gap from the ones and the twos, right? We don't see it as ones, twos, and threes. We just see it as a big group. I think Coach Herm does it all the time where he says, if you're in, you're the starter. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter if you're a 2 on the depth chart. It doesn't matter if you're a 3. You're on the field. You're the starter right there. So I think, right now, the goal is to bridge the gap, between the 1s, the 2s, and the 3s. That way, if you put a 3 out there, right, you put a Miri out there, it's just like putting a 1 out there. So it shouldn't matter who's out there. You just know they're going to make plays. We're going to be an animal on the field.
How do you feel like that's gone so far with the depth behind you?
Honestly, really good. I think especially at practice. You should have seen when Coach Rod pulled up the script for the first day. I looked at it, I was like, man, you had a tough time doing this. We have so many people, right? You have to get everybody in rotation because you want to make sure everybody gets the right reps. That way, when they get on the field, there's no gap, right? So I think it's going really well. It's the first day or second day. There's still a lot to learn, still a lot to teach, but we're on the right track for sure.
Tyler called you a technician and you called Coach Rod a technician. Is that something you kind of bond over and resounds with?
A little bit, yeah. He always calls me. He says I'm his B-Rob. So at the Vikings, he said Brian Robinson was like that guy. So he said the first spring ball that he came in, he said, I need you to be exactly like B-Rob. I need you to learn the technique. I need you to own it. And then I need you to teach it to everybody else. And I think that really kind of resonates with a lot of the guys, right? Because, going to a coach and asking questions versus going to other players and asking questions, I think it's, it should be a good dynamic like that. You shouldn't just have to go to a coach to ask questions, right? And I'm not the only guy, don't think, Hollywood over there, he makes a lot of plays. He does a lot of technique too. There's a lot of stuff that I can't do that he can. So, but I think me and Coach Rod bond pretty well on that. But I think the whole D-line as a unit bonds over that, right? I think DJ takes a lot out of that. I think TJ takes a lot out of that. Even Garen and BJ, when they first came in, I think they're really owning that and, starting to learn that technique, get that discipline in. They're going to be really good for us.
Jermaine missed a lot this spring just with the lot of stuff going on with his family. How's he looked since he's coming back and now getting ready for the year here?
Jermaine is Jermaine. He's always going to be a baller. I remember I was talking to Coach Cab, pulled me aside the other day. We were just, it was during team comp and we were running something and it looked like a natural game, right? It wasn't like a planned, twist or game, but I was just covering up for Jermaine. Coach Cab pulled me aside. He's like, man, that looked nice. I was like, dude, when you have Aaron Donald in there, you just let Aaron Donald do his thing, right? I'm going to let Jermaine do his thing. I'm going to let him eat, and I'm going to cover up for him. And, he's going to be Jermaine's going to be really good. He's just got to get back into it. And I think that's with all of us, right? We haven't put pads on or anything in, 4 months or so whenever we finished spring ball. And not to mention, Jermaine hasn't put pads on until last fall. So it's more just getting those reps in, right? Muscle memory, building that back up. But he's a beast. He's a tank for sure.
What does the fact that you're working with so many of the same people from last year, even though you only got 4 games, how does that help with trust and knowing where guys are going to be and what the roles are?
Oh, and to speak on that, yeah, it's just like when you're playing, when I'm playing next to Jermaine, or I'm playing next to DJ, or I'm playing next to TJ or Omar, right? You get a feel for how they play, right? Because you've had so many reps with them, you start to learn with them, right? That's why there's not really a depth chart for us. Like we can rotate in. We just have to know how each of us play, and once you learn that, it just comes more natural, right? You know who you're playing against. You know who's going to take that inside, who's not going to take the inside, who's going to rush high, who's a lot quicker, right? If you're rushing with Vez, you got to know he's fast. He's really fast. So just getting a feel for how everybody plays, it's like the quarterback and receivers. That bond has to be really special. So same thing with a DN and a nose guard, or a DN and a tackle.
I know you guys wanted to work just on your run defense. What do you think that added depth behind you is going to do for that, just having more bodies to throw in a game?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's only so much beating you can take in a game, right? So I think having that extra depth and having the kids that can still play the run, that way, like I said, we don't really have people that are strictly pass rush guys, right? You can have everybody play the run. That means that's a big factor, right? Because now you're not having 4 guys take 40 reps a game, and then the pass rush guys taking 20 reps a game, right? You're having everybody collectively take about 25 reps a game, right? That takes a lot of stress off of us. Keeps everybody's legs fresh, and honestly, it builds that confidence in Coach Rod. If he can put you in there in a pass down or a run down, makes a big difference.
I know you're one of the more vocal guys in your group, and last year was a good year for you guys expectations-wise. Just what are you kind of setting for the group, both for them and then for yourself too?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is taking what Coach Rod has taught us over the past year and a half and making it our own, right? I think that's the goal. That's really what Coach Rod came here to do. He wanted to give us the information. We take it and make it our own. I think that's really important. I think that's really what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to make this technique, make this discipline, make this scheme our own, so we can have fun with it and just go ball out.
You feel a lot more comfortable with it now because you only had 4 games with him last year. Now I would think it's second nature. Almost.
Oh yeah, 100%. And even right with the coaching change and changing the whole scheme, everybody was kind of tiptoeing around. I think everybody's ready to go. I think that's front to back, right? I think that's not just the D-line. I think that's everybody from the DBs down. I think everybody's just a lot more comfortable. I know Jack and Chase, they're always the hyper ones, right? But even they see what everybody else down the line is doing, and I think that's really good, and we see what they're doing. I mean, I don't know if you guys have watched a lot of film, but our DBs are pretty locked down, and that gives us a really good shot up front. Our linebackers are extremely solid. We have Sully back there, we have D Black, we have Merlin, those guys, and even the backups, and even the second string, Will Schaefer and Connor Sully and stuff. There's not a gap in talent, right? Everybody can go in, and everybody trusts how everybody else plays. And I think that just goes along with the discipline. That's all credit to AP and everybody else.
You talked about making the technique your own and having fun with it. What ways specifically have you done that, and what methods are you trying to implement with the younger guys and really get them to do that?
Yeah, for me, it's all about body type, like how you play, right? Because the way I pass rush versus the way Trevez pass rush is going to be completely different. Absolutely different. So it's more of honing on the skills that you have at your body type, right? How you play. For for Trevez, it might be a lot more speed around the edge. For me, it might be a lot more power. It's really just taking the fundamentals of his pass rush and then turning that into what your body is capable of doing.
Is there anyone that you see potentially being like a version of the next technician or a younger player like that?
Yeah. With the new guys, I think BJ's taking it really good. I think he's doing it. I think he's doing it the right way. I think he came in here hungry, and that's not to say Garen isn't. But I think I can relate a lot to BJ, just because whether it was being under recruited from high school or stuff like that. Always, everybody kind of looks at you and doesn't think you can make the play, right? And that's not to say he can't make plays. But I think BJ's done a really good job of taking this technique and being that technician and being like that B-Rob on the Vikings. So